Blog Talk Radio.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Hello and welcome, everyone. It is Friday night, and you are listening to Paranormal Review Radio with your host, Anthony Agati in New York.
And me, Lucy Liebfried from Chicago. We are so happy that you're here with us tonight. Our chat room is up and running, so feel free to further discuss the topic or ask a question. But tonight, you can call in with your questions to 661-244-9831. Make sure you press the number 1 to get into the queue. And if you lose sound on your player, just refresh your page or log back in. Now, you can also send us an email at paranormalreviewradio@yahoo.com. And don't forget to check us out on our Facebook show page.
As you know from our promotions, tonight is Phone In Friday, and this is the time that we dedicate to you, the listener. Tonight we are opening up the phone lines in the hopes to get some really great discussions and conversations going on your favorite topics. You set the tone. You pick the topic. You call in and talk with us. So as Lucy said, the number is 661-244-9831. All that we ask is that you be respectful. The discussions can get heated, as heated as you want, but there's a line that we don't cross. We respect you, so please respect us. We've had the most awesome discussions in our last 2 open mics or phone-in Fridays, whatever we've called it in the past. We've discussed immortality, demonology, paranormal fraud, personal gripes within the field, and so on. So let's make this one even better. To start us off, Lucy and I actually have come up with one topic each, just to stir up the juices a little bit and get everybody thinking about paranormal stuff. We will both discuss our topics very briefly and then open up the phone lines. You can choose to discuss our topics or bring up a new one. We are open to anything. So, Lucy, you go first and talk about your topic for a few minutes, and then I'll go after you, okay?
Okay, cool. Well, you know what? But if you've been listening to the show, we did do a show on with Petrus Romanus, and it's been big talk and everything like that. Well, I was listening to a show this week online, and there was an ordained minister. His name is Lindsey Williams, and he's been a Baptist minister for like 28 years. Supposedly, he says that he went to Alaska in 1971 as a missionary, and he started working with an oil company on the oil pipeline. And what he was saying is that in the course of working with the oil company, he became good friends as chaplain to the higher-ups in the company. And from there, he started going on about what he called the global elite. And when he was talking about the global elite and so-called Illuminati, he brought up some points. And one of the things that he brought up was a little bit frightening to me, so I kind of started looking into it. And what he was talking about was radio frequency identification tags, which is the abbreviation is the RFID chips in humans. And according to Mr. Williams, one of the New World Order, on the New World Order agenda, one of the things that is supposedly on their agenda is to eventually have everybody get one of these RFID chips. Now, when I was listening to this, it was just like all kind of like falling into place, like with the Pope and the prophecy and the New World Order and the Antichrist. Some of this stuff is really, really frightening. And personally, I don't know that much about it, so I started looking it up. And, you know, as far back as 1994, they have been talking about putting these RFID chips in humans. And, you know, the original idea was, you know, it was introduced to the public for, like, pet owners. And I myself personally, one of my dogs actually had that chip. And I have to admit, you know, one time she got out, and it really was helpful. I got her back. You know, they were able to find her. They scanned the chip. But the notion of actually embedding these RFID chips in humans really was just talk until till September 11th happened. And a technology expert saw the firefighters. They were writing their badge numbers on their arms so that they could be identified in case they became disfigured or trapped. So thus was born the idea of putting these RFID chips in humans. Now, there was Applied Digital Solutions, and Richard Seelig, he was the vice president of medical applications. He actually inserted a tracking tag into his own arm, and he told the company CEO that it worked. From that, what was called VeriChip, and that's the name that they gave it, was born. Now, you know, the whole idea really kind of started like after the Second World War about radio frequency codings. And back in the 1950s in the nuclear industry, they used them to identify and track radioactive material. So, you know, as things became miniaturized and things happened, that opened up more applications. Now, in the 1990s, these tags were attached to materials and products. They were used to improve stock control, supply chain management, and they're used by libraries for tracking and sorting books. They became implanted in pets and other livestock. And they're actually used like in the toll road, like when you're driving down the toll road and you've got the little box that, you know, you can pay your toll without even leaving your car. Well, in 1998, another professor named Kevin Warwick, he actually implanted himself with an RFID tag for an experiment. In 2004, these tags were approved by the FDA for humans. Okay, now the pros on this thing, you know, what they're trying to say is like, oh, this is good for lost children, to prevent identity theft, you know, to help identify disaster victims, improve medical care. Now, on the bad side, these kind of technologies would make it easier for a government agency to track a person's every movement. They can allow widespread invasion of privacy. And there's countless other forms of abuse that can happen. But what I found really interesting, I started, you know, researching and looking this up. And as late as December of 2012, with everybody worrying about, you know, 2012 being the end of the world, there was a rumor going on the Internet that was Obamacare would require these RFID chips in humans by March 23rd, which would be tomorrow. And it was found to be a hoax. But there are people that were equating this to the book of Revelations in the Bible. And, you know, what Revelation 13, and he shall cause it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, so that no man may buy or sell, save he had that mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So when you're looking at all this stuff, and just what we've gone through with the new pope coming in, the worries about a new world order, I mean, personally, I kind of found this frightening. There are so many, there's pros and cons on it, but what I was thinking is that, would you want to do this? Would you actually go and implant one of these chips? I mean, the way they're talking about it, sure, it would be great. You know, you go up to the ATM, you wave your hand, and boom, there's your money. You go into the hospital. It could be programmed whether or not you have medical insurance. You walk in the door, they scan your hand, boom, there goes your treatment. But then on the other hand, is this truly part of the revelations that are coming in the Bible? Is it the mark of the beast?
you want me to comment on that?
Yes, because I freaked out by it. Personally, I don't like it. It's scary, and it's just so Orwellian.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I have not read up or researched a lot about these microchip implants in humans. I've seen these in the movies and in books, and the concept of it is pretty scary. I mean, it's basically Big Brother. It's total control. I get and I understand, and this is sort of the arbitrator in me. I sort of see the both sides of things. But, if you're going to ask me the question, would I ever get an implant? Hell no, I would never. Mm-hmm. It is an invasion of my privacy. But more so to the debate on this is the idea, and we're kind of starting to see things a little bit in this nature now, currently, right now. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, it's with your iPhones. And Androids or whatever other cell phones that you have, smartphones that you have, because a lot of the phones, the apps, the softwares, whatever it is that are on these tools, to me, are creating a civilization that is less intelligent. It's creating the intelligence or the humankind to not think, to have things done for them constantly. And just to your point, as you were just saying, Lucy, that if these implants are put in, the benefit, as that they're saying, is that you can, walk up to an ATM and boom, you get your money, or you walk into a store and boom, it's paid. You don't have to take anything out physically. So there's no manual stuff that you have to do. It's basically just done for you. And to me, I think it's just it's actually creating a dumber civilization to me. Now, you know me, Lucy. I am a big advocate or a big researcher of aliens and UFOs. Mm-hmm. And one of the theories that I've read and accumulated over time by reading and learning about extraterrestrials is the fact that their civilization has grown to the point where they don't have to do physical manual labor, and therefore that is why their bodies are so slim, sleek, and thin. There's no muscular stature to them. But their heads, their brains are huge. And that is, from what I've learned and from what I believe, is the development over time that their brains have grown, that their brains have advanced so far, and that is why that they're able to travel, interstellar, within the galaxy, all over the place. And how they did it, I have no idea. I haven't read anything to this date that has suggested ways of how that was done, or what was done over millions of years for them to be at that current state of visually and mentally, intellectually. So to me, this part would actually be the reverse of that. In my opinion, it would be creating a dumber civilization where we would physically still keep doing things, but mentally and intellectually, we won't have to think at all. And I think that just creates a society where there's no thought, there's no life, there's no soul in the person. And I think that's what's scary to people. I think that's what it is. It's not so much the actual implant of somebody watching you. I think it's the creation of what you become. And Debbie Callahan just said it in chat, zombies. It's exactly it. You become like a zombie. And that's what scares me about it.
Well, what I would, one other thing that I found, actually last fall, there is an Northside Independent School District in Texas. They began experimenting with locator chips and student ID badges on 2 campuses. This allows the administrators to track the whereabouts of about 4,000 kids with GPS-like precision. Now, those administrators are claiming that the chips are going to make the students safer. They're going to help boost attendance records. I saw another article where at work, your ID badge at work, I mean, it's giving your employer the ability to see where you're at all times, what are you doing? I mean, it's almost like this control thing. And along the lines of what you're saying, that it's creating like a zombie-like society. It is, and then it's also creating a society where the zombies can be controlled. You're supposed to be in this spot. You can't be in this spot. I mean, it's no different than having an ankle bracelet on, if you're on probation and if you're on house arrest, except that this is so weird. I mean, this is like the Matrix happening. It's just weird. And then the technology of putting these little microchips in the body. As far as alien goes, one thing that just popped in my head when you were talking about it, I mean, all these things that supposedly are coming, that came out of like Area 51, all of the technology that supposedly we have reverse engineered to find out what they are. I mean, is this something that maybe, if we're talking about aliens coming down and aliens, eventually overtaking the planet, farming us, is this the prelude to something like that?
I don't know. I'm hoping that if it does happen, it sort of is like the movie War of the Worlds, where they can't live on our planet and they die off because of the birds. But you did mention earlier about Obamacare and about the hoax about March 23rd. Now, I have recently just saw on the news that the scientists are actually creating this little microchip for medical use in humans, where it would, and it's not readily available right now. I think it's still in development stages. But the idea that this little tiny, it's sort of like a grain of sand or a piece of rice, the size of that, would be implanted in a person's body, and what it would do is gradually release medicine into your body that you need, so you don't constantly have to get injections or constantly have to take pills. This little chip is supposed to do that. Now, I did read that this microchip RFID thing is in the Obamacare plan. It's not that Obama had created this and put it in there on his own. This has been in the works, and within both Republican and Democrats wanting to have this instilled in the healthcare system for many years. I think it's been 8 or 10 years now, and it's just been sort of grandfathered into Obamacare. And it's not, I've read where it's not outright saying a quote-unquote microchip, but it's worded in a way that there's something to be implanted in patients. And I haven't read fully what this was because I just glanced at it earlier in the week. And it may be in reference to what I just talked about, or it may be in reference to what you've been talking about as far as control and the sort of big brother type thing to monitor the human race and as far as their health, and to be able to I guess make things better for the physicians and doctors as well as the patients themselves for tracking, so that, basically what we're relying on right now is paperwork. And I think that is starting to go away. The actual paperwork is starting to go away, and and doctors and physicians are starting to use more computers, but not to the extent that you would think. I think there's more computers in McDonald's than there are within the physicians' offices. But it is a scary subject and a scary topic. And I can see where the points are, but I think we are we are a ways off. If this is true, I think we are a ways off where this would be enacted and be mandatory. Don't you think?
You know what? I always go back to what I've heard once, that if it comes up either in a movie or in a television show or in the media, chances are it's been around for quite a long time. And as I'm going through things, I'm seeing more instances of it. And again, all of this kind of just made me start thinking about what we were talking about with the prophecies of, St. Malachi and the changes that are supposedly coming. So I don't know if doing the show on Petrus Romanus has just made me a little bit more aware to things that are popping up. And now all of a sudden I'm starting to equate everything going back to the prophecy. You know, it was just something that just, when I'm listening to this man and he's quoting all these things supposedly from the global elite, the other part of me was a little bit, I was like, okay, so if he has all this information and if it was true, why would they let him put it forth? That's the other thought that I had about this.
Well, you know, with this whole New World Order and everything else, I think it's been around for so long. I mean, you can even equate it to the Illuminati. How long has the Illuminati been in existence? I mean, you can't really date them because they're so secretive, but, you know, the concept of an Illuminati and this whole New World Order theories and conspiracy theories have been around for so long that if it was true, don't you think that there would be some evident, you know, cases that we can actually verify from? I don't know. I think we're just. I don't think it will happen right away. And if it did, if it happened tomorrow, let's just say this, Lucy. If tomorrow the president came on CNN and Fox News and made a State of the Union about this whole thing and said, starting next week, we're going to be allocating these RFIDs and these microchips into every human being. It is mandatory. You're to report and so and so and so and so and so and so. Don't you think that there would be an uprising? Don't you think right now at this point, and I mean, look at the gun control issue that's happening. If the president came on and said, "I'm going to put a microchip now in you," I can guarantee you there would be another, you know, civil war, revolutionary war, World War III. Who knows what it would be? But I just think it would just erupt into chaos and hell.
I'm hoping so. Because I know the whole thing just freaked me out, and maybe I'm just giving too much credence to what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good topic to talk about. I mean, I guarantee you there's a lot of branches in that story where you can go off into, you know, the hybrid and the alien side, and then you can also go into biblical text and prophecies. And then you can go into government cover-ups. I mean, there's so much that you can actually get into. I think you'd have one big major headache at the end of that research. But I think it's something that people should talk about and think about, maybe, even if it's not. Even if it doesn't come true, it's something that you yourself should think about, so that you sort of solidify your standings, what you are. You know, what you stand for, and I think that makes you a stronger person.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to bring that up and just see what people thought about it. And so far, reading the chat room, it sounds like everybody would fight against it. People would not stand for it. Vegas says revolution. You know, so it just really just struck me. And I think maybe because we just had the show, and, you know, that whole thing is still fresh in my mind. All
right, so do you want me to talk about my topic?
Yes, please.
All right, my topic is probably going to hit some people personally. I think my topic is what has been on a lot of people's minds who are within the paranormal world, you know, who are the avid watchers and listeners of television shows and movies. And my topic is basically on paranormal TV shows. Now, for at least the past 6 months, I have noticed on specifically only, and I'll only target this on Facebook. You know, there's other outlets out there, but within Facebook, I have noticed in the last 6 months a lot of comments from people in regards to the paranormal shows that are out there. And specifically because of doing this show with Lucy every Friday, we get to talk and meet to a lot of some of these quote-unquote para-celebs that are on television and on radio, and who we've had on. So we've become friends with them, and we keep in contact, or we've liked their page on Facebook. And so every now and then what I would do is I'd go and check out, Haunted Encounters and Stranded and ghost hunters, and all these folks. I'll just go and check and see what's the chatter, what's going on, what are people talking about. Even when Haunted Highway came on, I even checked their side, and people do have opinions. I never doubted that, but people have opinions and comments about television shows, especially paranormal, and they take it very personally. And I know a lot of the shows that have come on, a lot of the new ones within the last 3 months, people tend to quickly give off a comment and either quickly write off a show or quickly jump on, the sort of bandwagon of the show itself and ride it till whenever. And there's the two extremes are way extreme. It's on opposite ends of the poles, and a lot of these folks that I see the comments on, either they really love it or they hate it to the point where they start to badmouth people. So my question to everybody then is, what makes a good paranormal show? And I think it's a very vague question because first of all, any review of a television show is going to be subjective to the person. Obviously, there are shows that I like that I'm sure 100 other people don't like, and that's fine. But what I'm hearing also is that people are not, when they're commenting on these shows, they're stating the fact to them that this is nothing new, that we're not seeing anything new. It's the same old, boring, boring, boring. That is the top 3 comments that I have noticed within Facebook. And that prompted me to ask the question then, what makes then a good paranormal show to you? Is it the host? Is it the method of how the show is constructed or presented? Or is it the evidence that is captured and shared with its viewers? Like I said, paranormal reviews of paranormal shows are mainly subjective. People will like or not like, something depending on how much knowledge they have about the paranormal at the time. For instance, if you have known all your life about shadow people, and a particular show is discussing and investigating a shadow figure, and you believe they are not correct about what this thing is, you will comment right away and basically say that that's not a shadow person, that's this or that's that or whatever it is. I'm just giving this as an example, and that is not what you have learned or experienced. You will tend to not like the show or comment that it's fake because the knowledge that you have about shadow people differ than what the person on the show is commenting on or stating about. Like I said before, many of the comments that I've read and claim that people are bored and the same old show and that it's mostly the same thing. And so what I did was actually go through all of the shows that are currently right now on air, okay? And it's across all the channel outlets. And what I did was I basically listed, I have a comprised list here. Let me see. I have got 18 points. And these 18 points consist of everything right now that these paranormal shows are projecting. This is what's coming through the television in your living room right now. So, one, you've got paranormal investigative team or teams, haunted locations. They do the history of the claims of paranormal topics. There are shows that appeal to younger viewers and shows that appeal to more advanced viewers. There are shows that have mediums and psychics. There are shows that have investigators who have been in the field for over 25 years and others who are brand new to the world. There is this sort of mainstream feel within the paranormal, and then there's like this sort of more rocker type and extreme feel to these shows. There are groups that or shows that adding new technology to the field, and there are groups that bring in new techniques and new methods. There is shows that are the so-called reality-based versus documentary type. You've got both male and female investigators. You've got both young and old investigators. You've got haunted objects. They talk about haunted people. There's obviously in these shows there's haunted commercial locations versus haunted homes. Then there's the teams versus individuals, and then you've got shows who do the debunking versus the actual spirit seekers. And then there are shows that are scary, meant to scare you entertainment-wise, and then there's more of the intellectual. So my question then is, what are you not getting? What is it that these shows are not giving you that you are looking for? Do you, Lucy, find that in your viewing of groups and websites and Facebook and Twitter and whatever else that you're on, that this is the sort of sentiment, but what I just explained and gave out all those points, isn't that enough? Isn't that, I mean, running the gamut of what a paranormal show should have?
Yeah, you know what, it is, because you've got all of the types of shows that you mentioned. And, of course, first and foremost, if it's on television, it's basically entertainment. So you're not going to get everything that you're looking for from every individual show. Each show is going to have its stick. Each show is going to have what they're trying to portray. But what I am noticing in my own watching, in my own watching of the shows, where I used to watch every single paranormal show that was on there, I'm beginning to get to the point where I'm only watching a couple. And the reasoning why is because, well, the main thing I want to say why I watch these shows, for me now at this point in my development and that I'm learning, is basically for the locations. I want to see where these places are. I want to see different locations. I want to get a visual. Now, as far as the actual shows, there are different kinds, of course. I still enjoy, there's a couple shows that I still enjoy and I will still watch religiously. But there's other shows that I used to watch all the time, and now it's just like, it's the same thing. I don't want to see cameras on the investigators. I want to see the evidence. I want to see what they're seeing. I want that television screen to take me and place me in that location, because I may never be able to get to this place, or I may not have been there yet. One of the newest shows that are on is taken from, dropping people who aren't experienced. I'm going to say who are not experienced, and leaving them in a location for several days. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but to me, it's become a comedy. It has been, this week when I watched it, I was laughing my ass off. And it was only because it was like the whole thing is set up to show people being scared. And that's not what I want to see. I want to see the locations. And the sad thing about it is these locations that they're going to seem to be really good, active locations. They're interesting. The history behind the location is interesting. And to me, it's like it's being wasted on people that aren't really investigating. They're not really investigators. And then again, going on the other hand, I don't want to see these investigators that are so experienced that, it becomes almost like an act, like a parody of a paranormal investigation, because there's so much drama involved. And they've got to, they're selling themselves more than they are the location. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that what I'm finding that's not there anymore is the evidence. I mean, that's the whole thing that we started watching these shows for. I'm sure everybody wants to see evidence. Everybody wants to see a location. And now all of a sudden each network is trying to add in, okay, well let's do this angle on it and let's do that angle on it. And in the meantime, I'm just getting bored of some of these. Some of the older shows, I understand you've got to change things up every once in a while. Let's make it a little bit more exciting. But you know what? The original formula that they had is what got me to start watching. And it would probably keep me watching. But when you start adding in, the little play acting and things. And then you got people that are starting to question whether or not things are happening. You know, are they faking evidence? You know, it's a hard thing to say. It's really difficult, but I do know that I'm not watching as much as I used to, and that's sad because I love it.
I think what you just explained is my question in the very beginning, or not my question, but my example in the very beginning of me talking about this was that your knowledge base and your education, if you want to call it that, your experience within the paranormal field has grown tremendously since you first started watching. And so because you're more paranormally intellect, let's just say, you're more paranormally intellect in the fact that you have gone out and gone to locations, seen things for yourself. And so what you are now expecting to see on television is very different than from what you were originally looking at television for, 5-6 years ago. And so I think your hunger has grown. And I think that's what's changed your attitude towards some of the television shows. Now, does that make the shows not worth it? Does it make the shows not good because your hunger has grown? You've gotten more hungry for what you're looking for, and they're not supplying it. But for the folks that have never gone out to a location or just watch it just for entertainment and not really into the paranormal but like to watch it because they get scared, it's fulfilling them, but it's not fulfilling you because you're beyond that. You're to the extreme where you're now looking for, as you just said, for the locations. You're looking for the evidence because you want to see, if you've caught that while you were watching it, or if you've heard that type of voice when you were out at a location. I think it's the mentality of the viewer that has changed, and therefore that's why there's so many people that are commenting left and right, to these extremes of whether they like these shows or not. Do you agree with that, to what I just said?
Yeah, no. I do agree with that. I do agree. I agree.
I mean, right now, you just mentioned the show where people are dropped off, and I'll name it. It's Stranded on Sci-Fi. Now, we just talked about this earlier this week. Now, I know you find it comical, the show. You find it that, one, you wish you were there and not them, I think, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what I had told you was that I'm watching these shows now. And, again, I have changed as well since the first time that I started watching these. I'm watching these shows more for the entertainment, more so for the reaction. If you want to call me a voyeur, I love looking at people and observing people and seeing how they react. You know that show Scare Tactics? Okay. That's not a paranormal show, but it's a scary show. And what it is they try and get these, quote-unquote victims, and they play a prank on them, and they scare the crap out of them. I love watching that show not because it's scaring me. I don't think it's scary at all. Some of them are pretty lame. But to see the reactions of those people in the rooms or in the woods or wherever they are, and looking at their faces and them getting truly scared, I find entertaining. That might sound sick, but that's the way that I am. I've always loved Halloween, and I've always put on Halloween parties in my house. I've always decked out my entire place to look like, either an insane asylum or a really creepy home, because when I invite people over, I love to see their faces. I love them to get creeped out and scared. And so a lot of times I'm watching these shows now just to see, if how Zach reacts or how, Jason, thinks of things when he hears a voice, or with Stranded, how these newbies, who I call them, because they are newbies, they're not really investigators, they're just people dropped off in a location, how they react and what they think about and what goes through their mind and what changes them, what makes them change from a non-believer to a believer, or maybe the opposite way if that's the case. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not even looking at so much the history anymore because I can do that on my own, and we have done that. I'm not even looking at the evidence really anymore because it's subjective. I'm not there. I don't know what the circumstances were around it because a lot of times they don't show 5 minutes before or 10 minutes after whenever that piece of audio or video came on. And so that's me. That's what I'm looking for. And I tend to like a lot more of these shows than you do or a lot of other people do simply because of that fact.
But don't you feel that the shows that started out, as paranormal shows with the evidence and everything, it's evolving that show into scare tactics. It's evolving it into like this kind of warped game show. Who can we scare the most, and who's going to freak out? I mean, isn't that sad though?
I think that is your personal feeling towards it because of the level of where you are. The show Stranded on Sci-Fi, okay? The concept is not new at all. That was actually done in the 90s, and I think it was The Scariest Places on Earth. I think that was the name of the show.
Yeah.
The same thing, and I think with that they brought in families, so it was like the parents and the kids, or it was, cousins and whatever. And this is sort of the same thing I'm seeing now, that they're bringing in, boyfriend and girlfriend and friend or brother and sister and cousin or whatever it is. It's the same concept. It's really nothing new, and I'm sure you found that to be very entertaining back in the 90s when you were watching it.
Mhm.
Now
because
that
I didn't know anything. Now that I
right, and that's my point. And what I'm saying is because your education level has gone up, your view has changed on these entertaining shows. That's what it is, and that's what we're seeing there. We're seeing people are commenting on these shows, and they're attacking. A lot of them are attacking. Like we know Helmy Kramer from Haunted Encounters Face to Face, and when his show first came on, people were just killing him and attacking his Facebook page about the show and about how it was boring and it was nothing new and it was lame and it was this and that. And I'm saying to myself, what more do they want? What is it that they're looking for? And Helmy and the crew from Haunted Encounters Face to Face did bring something new. They brought that whole new method acting. Not that nobody was doing it before, but it wasn't in television. It wasn't shown to people who are not in the field that things like this go on. And I found it entertaining, and it sort of helped their investigations a little bit. There's the show The Dead Files, where you've got Amy, who's a medium, and you've got Steve, who's a cop, who's a retired cop. I mean, to me, that's different. That's not ever been done on the shows, on any of these paranormal shows before, but yet people are attacking these shows. They're saying, why is it that every time we watch the show, there's always evidence and the stories always click? Well, think about it. Why would they put something that wouldn't click on? It's entertainment. That's what it is for. It's telling a story, and so you have to have a beginning, middle, and an end to it. And the majority, the masses of people who watch the shows or television itself, you have to watch a television show. I'm sure if you watched a movie, whatever the movie is, and the movie ended the way that you didn't want it to end, you'd be pretty upset. And so these television shows, they're ending in a way that is satisfying its viewers by giving them what they want, which is the evidence. Now, I'm sure they've gone to locations and probably halfway through have nixed the filming of it because either it wasn't good, there was fraud, or there was nothing to bring forward. And so that's why you're not seeing it on television. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe the producers and directors in Hollywood are all BSing all of us. I don't know. But that's my feeling as to why you're only seeing good outcomes or the evidence and whatnot. I know that there's some shows, and even Ghost Hunters had one episode where they went into a location and the owner of, I think it was a bar, had perpetrated fraud, and they caught it and they put it on television. And there was all these mechanics in the ceilings and speakers and
I remember
in the
that.
walls. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
They put it on the air. And that show, from what I've learned, did not get the best response. And I think people are learning, the producers and these directors are learning that that's not what people want. They want, to have the show where they go into location, they get the evidence, and they show it to they show it to you, the viewer, and the credits roll. I don't know. I'm just really confused at what people want, and I think it's a matter of everybody's education level, everybody's knowledge base, where they're at right now, is the reason why they're commenting on the shows.
Well, I do notice that as we go along, I mean, you're right, the comments are, whenever there's a new show or even like a new season, the comments are just so negative sometimes. I mean, everybody has got this opinion like, oh, well, this is fake, and it's just, sometimes it's a little disheartening. I mean, personally, yeah, you mentioned Dead Files. I mean, I still watch Dead Files religiously, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I know a little bit about mediumship, but I don't know everything. So to me, still watching Amy go through her paces and to see Steve come up with the same kind of story, to me that's fascinating. I mean, I could watch that over and over. I watched the reruns over and over. So to me, something like that is still interesting. Now, when it comes to some of these other shows, and I'll mention it, Ghost Hunters. I very rarely watch Ghost Hunters anymore, only because I don't want to see the team. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see what they're seeing. And the one show that they did that you mentioned with the debunking and the owner faking evidence, that was awesome. I enjoyed that because it showed it was something different. It wasn't the same thing every single week. Oh, we're going to go into this bar and here's what's happening. But I will admit, the history part of it, one thing I will say that Ghost Hunters is starting to do much better in the few episodes that I've seen, they're going a little bit more into the history, which I think is really interesting. Now, I will give Ghost Adventures credit that I really enjoyed the first part when they go into the history. And for pure entertainment value, I'll still watch them. I will still watch them, only because I get a kick out of seeing them. And I think a lot of times it has to do with the fact that we do know who they are, that we have investigated with them. So we have an idea of who these people are and what they're really like. And I still enjoy, watching it. I really do, because sometimes...
Was that a little underlying comment? We know how they are, and we still watch them.
Oh, gee, did I let that slip?
Did you just reveal something, Lucy?
I think most people have the same kind of feeling towards certain members of the team. I will say that Aaron and Nick are just absolutely awesome and probably the sweetest people that you ever want to meet, and I'll leave it at that.
Again, my point is, and I'm not saying that all these shows are great and all these shows are truthful. I can guarantee you, Lucy and I have talked to many people, since we started doing the radio, and even before that, when we were within the field and investigating and going out and meeting people, that there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you don't know about and that are not shown and not seen, and stories that are manipulated as far as a location so that it sounds better on television. I think with every television show, there is always going to be that. Just for the mere fact, the quote-unquote reality TV, no matter what it is, reality television, paranormal or not, it is not reality. We all know that, but we still watch it because it is somewhat real and it is somewhat entertaining. And so I think the idea and that concept and that feeling should be applied to the paranormal shows. That you know, there are some extreme folks who watch these shows religiously and will watch it even though they can't stand them, either the host or the show itself. Will watch it so that they get more ammunition to go after them, to bash them even more. And you know, we can't help people that are like that. That's the way that they are, and they feel that that's the need to do it, and that's fine. But I think those are the folks that you know, people really shouldn't listen to, because they're being, I don't know if this is right in what I'm saying, that they're being objective at the fact that, no, they're not being objective. They're being subjective, because they already have the mindset that they hate them, so that they're going to continue to do these bashings. And I've seen forums and chat rooms and these blogs that, I mean, I don't know whether or not they have a job or they have a life or what, but they constantly do that. And they constantly bash and go after these people. For what, though? Because all they're doing is just putting entertainment out on television, just like a soap opera, just like a drama series like Grey's Anatomy or what. That's all that they're doing. And if you're truly in the paranormal field, you know not to take what they say to truth. You know that the one rule that every paranormal investigator knows is that you must do your research. Research. And so whatever you see on television, particularly the paranormal shows, please, and I'm going to say this to everyone, please, do not take to heart and do not take truth to what is being said word for word from these hosts and from these writers or whatever. Because a lot of it is manipulated, and it's not on their doing, it's the producers. And people are faulting the hosts, which they should, because if they were truly in the field, they would turn to the producer and say, you know what, that's not right, we should be saying it this way because this is the truth. But hey, they're getting paid millions of dollars, and they're going to continue to do it because that's what brings in the money and that's what pays their rent. So, but I think the paranormal investigator themselves, the viewers, if you are a paranormal investigator and you are the viewer of these shows, you know firsthand that it's research is the number one thing that you need to do. And so if you are skeptical about a story that's on the show, all you got to do is turn to your local library, go online, talk to people, call the town, do whatever, and find the information for yourself. Find out the truth for yourself. I think that's what makes a paranormal investigator the best paranormal investigator, is to do the research. So my feeling is quit the bashing. Quit the, you can comment, you make your opinions, whatever, but the blog bashing and the forums that go on about these television shows, end it. Stop it. Do your research. Put that research out there. Put that out there. Educate people as to what is the correct information if it is not correct. Do that part of it. But don't stop bad-mouthing. It turns off people, and then it sort of puts a question mark around you, whether or not you are intellectual yourself, and the fact that you would steep down low to do that to someone else instead of being the right person and putting that information out there, the right information out there, so that people can know what they're supposed to be learning, basically. I know that there's a new show, Lucy, that is coming up on Sci-Fi. It's called Notorious. Why are you laughing?
I know, because I know which one you're going to mention.
Notorious Hauntings?
No, I thought you were talking about the other one.
What other one?
The redneck investigators?
Oh, no. No, this is a new one. No. This is a new one that's coming out, I think, in spring of this year. Okay. It's called Notorious Hauntings, and it's produced by Pilgrim Studios. And I just wanted to announce this, and maybe people can look for it and see, again, if this is something that they're looking for. The company behind Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters, the most successful paranormal franchise in cable, Notorious Hauntings, features a group of researchers who investigate reports of extreme and dangerous supernatural activity across the globe. In each of the 6 self-contained episodes, viewers will follow the investigators as they not only research the otherworldly activity on each site, but also explore the gruesome history of the infamous and heinous individuals, their crimes and victims, to determine if they are the cause of the present-day haunting. Through the gathering of evidence and uncovering of little-known history, Notorious Hauntings will explore some of the world's most enduring mysteries, including the case of Jack the Ripper in London and the legendary Dracula in Romania and Slovakia. So here you've got now a new show that's coming out that is basing their theme, their concept, on the more gruesome history, the more mysterious, the more crime-related. So it's crossing both worlds. It's sort of creating or enticing the mainstream folks out there who love the drama, who love history, who love crime shows, probably like CSI and stuff like that, and melding it with the paranormal and with the cases like Jack the Ripper and Dracula, and also talking, I guess, about urban legends too. So they're mixing the two, and they're creating this show to find out whether or not the current hauntings are a result of these past heinous crimes and their victims and the murders and whatnot. Now, I think that's an interesting take, and I think that's bringing something new to paranormal television. You see a little bit of that in some of the other shows, very little, but there's no show that's dedicated to something like that. So if you are someone who really love these gruesome, demonic, I guess, or not demonic, but more of this mysterious, gruesome, real dark history kind of paranormal shows, and with the mentality of CSI, with that investigative sort of tone to it, to try and figure out whether or not what's happening now is a result of the past, you might like that. Now, people who are not into that, I guarantee you will go on that website and start bashing them because they're not bringing anything new or they're not bringing anything that they like. And so, again, the question is, what else more can television bring to your living room that you're going to be happy with?
Well, see, that one sounds great. That one sounds awesome to me. I mean, that's exactly what I've been saying. I want to know about the history. I want to know the background about it. I would love to see more of what causes that, and just the whole premise of the show sounds great to me.
Okay. So we've just babbled on, and Lucy, do we have any callers?
Yep, we got one.
All right, do you want to take some calls?
Yeah, let's take this one. This one's been waiting for 15 minutes.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, who is this?
This is Katina. Hi.
Hi, Katina.
Hi, Katina.
Hi. I had two thoughts I just wanted to bring up, and I mentioned it in the chat room, but the first one is I really liked the show that had the kids on it, and the reason I liked the show with the kids is kids are a heck of a lot more honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that one was fascinating because you could see the kids were actually traumatized by what they were seeing, and they got together and saw things together, and I thought that was really great. I don't remember what the show was called. I know that they...
Was that the Psychic Kids?
Yes. And I thought that one was excellent. They didn't try to show us anything. They just went through the kids, which I felt more confident in listening to the children talk about it than I do sitting there and watching for an hour to see something.
Right.
So just listening to the kids. And then my second thought was these people on this new show where they go out for a week, being someone who I'm sensitive and I've actually seen spirits, I'm curious. I know they sign up to get into it and go on the show, but if they carry something back, where does that leave those people? Because I know spirits can imprint on you, and I'm, just as a person who's a healer, that concerns me that they could carry a spirit back with them.
Lucy, you brought up that question, didn't you, when we were watching the show?
Yes, I did. That was the one thing that struck me, too, that you've got these people who are obviously inexperienced. They're going into this location. And I asked, what happens when something attaches to them and then they leave? I mean, is Josh Gates going to come by and help them clean? Or it doesn't appear that they're given much to begin with. I mean, when we go out on an investigation, there's so much preparation that we do, both mentally and physically and spiritually. And here you have this group of inexperienced people, and they're being dropped in a location. I mean, just the fact that they went to when they went to the prison, Moundsville Penitentiary. Mm-hmm. We've never been there, but everything I've heard about it, that it's pretty intense, that there are some very negative entities there. That to me was kind of, I don't want to say irresponsible, but it just seemed kind of iffy. Why would you take newbies in there when I know experienced investigators that are kind of hesitant about going there?
Well, Katina, how do you feel about the show? I mean, what do you think they should do then in that case?
I don't think they should be doing it at all. To be honest, I know that people are signing up for it. I think that unless somebody sits down who's a professional and does some follow-up afterwards to make sure they're okay, maybe. But we know nothing about that, the before and the after. So just knowing what I have seen and the things that have happened to me, I wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't go. But so I just think that whole show is just a service to the public in general. That's just my opinion, but I'm not bashing the show. I think it's interesting entertainment, but a disservice to the people on the show, even if they signed up, because they may not know what they're carrying back. And I know that I've had to get rid of, things that have attached and tell them to leave. And I don't need that. Go away. Go home.
Right. I've had that. I've had that happen to me too. And what I've heard from other folks, that what the show is doing is giving people the false sense of security, and also the idea that anybody can walk into a location and get scared and leave, and the end of the show, credits roll, and nothing else. It gives them that false sense of security that this can happen and that anybody can do this. And I think that is a bad thing. I think that there should be a disclaimer. Maybe there is, and I don't know. I haven't read it. Lucy, I don't know if you've seen it come on the show.
Mm-hmm. No.
But there should be a disclaimer that pops up in the very beginning and at the very end so people do read it and know. Josh, of all people, who has been in the field for a very long time, should know that should be there as well. And there should also be a disclaimer on there that it's for entertainment purposes only. A lot of these shows don't do that. And the idea that people think that, this is something that they can do and go out and go to a location without knowing anything, doing anything, like Lucy was saying, is a disservice, like you were saying, Katina. It just is. But for me, because I know and I would never do anything like that, I find it entertaining. But I'm not the masses, and we're not the masses. It's the folks who don't go out there that are watching this that are thinking that, and that is a disservice that they're doing.
Well, I've got a question for both of you, okay? And this show, Stranded, is produced by the people that produced Paranormal Activity, the movies. And do you find the beginning of the show, when they first focus on the team, doesn't that feel staged, like it's like you're watching another scary movie?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. It has the sense also too of the Blair Witch Project movie.
I'm trying to remember the name. Yes, that's exactly what it's like.
It kind of feels that way with the mix of the Paranormal Activity. I don't know if it's the videoing of itself, the filming itself, but that's the kind of feeling that I get when I do watch the beginning of them going to the place and so on and so forth. But yeah.
Yeah, that was the one thing when I was looking at it. I'm sorry to cut you off, Katina. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to say one other thing is that we did have a spirit here, and my husband could not see it, and that's the other thing that bothers me is I think that certain people can't see it, so they can watch the show and all the shows and never see a thing. So that bothers me a little bit, too, because I think only certain people are capable of seeing things.
Right.
Anyway,
Lucy and I have talked about that a million times. And I think, did I mention this last week, Lucy, or the week before, about the whole karma thing? How I think what you give off is what you get back. And so when people go into a location and they're already in a negative, depressed feeling, the spirits who are feeling that way are attracted to that, and the spirits and entities that are attracted to that contain those feelings and that energy type, and that's what you'll get back. But also, too, the idea that if you are not open, if your mind is not open to the ability of spirit and of the spirit world, you will not get that communication. You will not get that connection with anything because they know you are closed. They know that you have an ulterior motive for whatever you are doing. If you're walking into a location, for instance, Lucy and I have been with someone who would walk into a location and demand that they get hit or scratched or whatever because they want to go home with the story. And the spirits and entities know that, and so they're not going to touch you. They're not going to be near you at all. But if you go in there with the notion that you want to communicate, you want to get some answers, or you want to hopefully help someone on the other side, they're going to be open to that communication. They're going to be open to that railway, that they have this back and forth with you, as opposed to that other person who has just got an ulterior motive. So I agree with you 100%, Katina.
Well, thanks for letting me talk.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for calling in. Have a great night,
Katina.
You
guys. Have a
Bye-bye.
good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
No, she brought up a good point. You know, like you said, I mean, I think people can go into a location. Why is it that some teams can go in to a location and get nothing, and then other people can go into the same location and get a ton of stuff? And again, spirits aren't on command. They're not going to. They don't keep the same schedule. They're not going to react the same way every time. Locations have slow nights, just like anything else. But I do believe that again, what's in your heart is really important, and what you put out. I mean, why is it that every time we've gone somewhere, we get something? You know, I don't remember a single time that we've gone anywhere that we didn't get anything.
Right. It all goes to the feeling that you have as an investigator. But Katina also brought up Paranormal Kids, the Psychic Kids, with the show with Chip Coffey. And Katina mentioned that she liked that show because it showed you the kids' development within their abilities, their gifts within the spirit world, and how they are dealing with it. Especially because, as everybody knows, kids are more susceptible. They're more of the innocent mind, and so the spirits are able to connect with them a lot better than with adults. But on the opposite side of that, the people who are saying, who I've heard and I've read, a lot of people say that show does a disservice, and that show is almost like child abuse. I've heard those words called for that show because they are subjecting these children to things that are of the unknown, that nobody knows anything about, and bringing it out in them and encouraging these kids to further the development of their gifts. And people are saying that it should be the opposite. And I think those are the closed-minded folks who don't understand what the field is all about and what needs to be done, and you can't just shut it away simply because they're kids. I think more so it needs to be, I guess, I can't think of the word, it needs to be pronounced more because they are children, because they are dealing with this. They don't have the ability to understand and to know, and so they need help. And for the folks that say that this is child abuse is ridiculous, but I've heard that. I've heard those comments, and it's harsh. And again, it goes back to what I was saying before. It's your knowledge, it's your intellect of what you know of the paranormal is how you are going to react to these television shows.
Well, you know what? Psychic Kids I thought was a good program. I did enjoy it, but I can see where the naysayers are coming from too, and that was only like when I watched. There was another show that was just a pilot, and they had focused on a family that was having activity, and there was a younger girl, about 13 years old, who obviously was really traumatized. She was right in the middle of it, and they just kept telling her, oh, you know, it's okay, you don't need to go in there, you don't need to see this, go to your room. You know, that was the complete opposite. Now, to me, that felt like child abuse, because here is this poor kid worried about what was going on to her mother because the activity was happening to her mother, and she was being told, just go to your room and don't worry about it. That, to me, is the child abuse, not the other side where, you know, you have someone who's trying to help these children understand, and that, I think, is the good point, helping a child understand what's happening. Because just to say, oh, you know, it's nothing, you know, you shouldn't encourage it. Well, so these abilities, sometimes you can't bury it, you can't hide it, it continues. I know that just from personal experience. You try not to acknowledge it, but it's still there. Now, for an adult, that could be disturbing. But take it to the mind of a child who has no clue what's going on, and it can be downright scary. So here you have a person, a show, that they're trying to help these children. They're trying to help them understand. And I think knowledge in any form can't be harmful. It can't.
No, it can only help.
Right.
Knowledge is the tool to further your mind and further yourself in the world, you know, in the universe itself. And you know, I can't say that enough. We always talk about the education part of everything that we do is the research and the knowledge base of everything. It can only strengthen you even more. And whether that's an adult or a child, it can't hurt at all. Like you were just saying, it can only help you get through whatever it is that you're going through at that moment. I think we have a caller. I think we have Reverend Gordy, area code 734 on the line. Hello, you are on the air.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you so much for taking my call. I've been listening to you for the past 2 weeks now, and I truly enjoy your show. You know, talking about children and seeing spirits and all this kind of stuff, I can talk for experience. Ever since I was 3, I was kind of seeing vision, you know, at night. And I would tell my mother, and she said, well, you know what, I'm going to have to take you to the doctor because that's not right. And even in school, you know, I would see stuff and hear stuff. And, you know, to be honest with you, like you said earlier, you know, the kids get confused because I was very confused. It was voices. I knew nobody was around me talking to me. And not till I got really into my late teens, early 20 is when I started to kind of develop and understand really what was going on. But yeah, as a child, I was in school. I was called crazy and all kinds of stuff, you know. So
and it's all because you didn't get any help or the help that you would have liked to have had.
Exactly. I didn't know, and really nobody else knew. They thought, you know, I needed some type of medication back in the days. You know, in the 60s, there was no medication like they have now, psychotic medication. Thank God, because I would have been in real bad shape.
Well, I got a question for you. If knowing the television shows that are on right now, if they were on when you were a child and you were going through this, would those television shows help you understand things a little bit better? Definitely. I would have told them, you know, what she's seeing, I'm seeing. Or, you know, what she's hearing, that's what I'm hearing. It would have been able to really relate. Even though I was from Cuba, and I'm not sure if you know too much about Cuba, but there's a lot of spiritual things and peritita, and so you know they was able to understand somewhat that I could have been experiencing,
but they couldn't really pinpoint it, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a child. It's hard. It's real hard.
How did you come to understand as you were late teens, early 20s?
In the late teens, you know, I started reading church. It was kind of funny because my mother, we was Catholic, raised Catholic, and when we came to the States, she became a Pentecostal. So as a kid, I was forced to go to church, and I was seeing, you know, all kinds of movements and people possessed, and it was kind of funny. And I said to myself, you know, they definitely got something. There's a spirit in possessing them because, you know, it's not normal what they were doing and talking in tongues and what have you. So, you know, the only problem it is they don't have no control over it. And the people that I talk, in my visions, you know, I have control. I can talk to them. They talk back to me. So that's when I start, you know, progressing myself to understand what I was seeing. And, you know.
Do you watch any of the shows now?
Oh yeah, definitely. I do, and myself, you know, I do have doubts. I'm not saying either way, but you know, it's television. It's entertainment, what I called it. But I truly believe, you know, and they probably have the ability that I don't have, but I do question some of it, you know. But
I think the best thing that what it's doing, and if nothing else, if this is the only thing, it's bringing awareness to this topic.
Oh, definitely.
You know, it's just showing what it is like within that world, and if anything, what it's doing for you is, you know, you're formulating your own opinions, you're formulating what you're thinking of, and you possibly will then go on the internet and maybe look it up and educate yourself. Right, so you'll educate yourself on it, which I think is if nothing else, that should be the only thing that is taken away from these television shows. And that is what we've been talking about, is that education, is getting to understand it for yourself. Because, you watch these shows and, you know, the investigators are doing things, or if it's, you know, newbie people that are out in a location or whatever it is, a haunted room, you know, they're doing things that you either may not know about or have done yourself or have gone through yourself. But you're picking out the things that are interesting to you, and you are maybe saying to yourself, you know what, I never heard about that, or I never knew about that. I'm still doing that. And you'll take that and you'll educate yourself and you know more about it, so the next time you see it, you'll be able to understand it better. And you can take that with you within your own experiences. So if you are still having those visions and if you are still having those feelings, maybe those education that you're getting from wherever is then helping you even better understand what you need to do, what you can do to get through it, to understand it better, or to adopt it, to actually use it.
Oh, no, very true. You said it. And, you know, the show that I was referring to was more like, you know, Teresa Caputo, Long Island Medium.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the shows that I was referring to. Not Paranormal. I think they're doing a great job. I honestly do. You know, they go out there, investigate, and I truly, you know, all power to them. I think they're doing a great job. And I mean, the small amount that I see on that, I truly believe all of it is legit. You know, what I was referring to was more like a medium shows and stuff like that.
Right.
You know.
Well, good.
But,
I'm glad to hear.
You guys got a beautiful radio, and I logged in last week, and very informative, a lot of information, and I truly like it, and I want to thank you, both of you, for having it.
Thank you so much, Gordy.
Thank you so much, Reverend Gordy. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a great weekend. God bless you.
God bless you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
That was nice. You know what?
Nice.
One point that he did bring up that I like, it's still entertainment. You know, the bottom line, it's still entertainment. So to keep, like what you've been saying is, you know, just keep that one foot on the ground, and just remember what you're seeing is entertainment. And if you're interested, or if it does make sense, or if you've got a question, research. It goes back to what you were saying before. You got to do research. You've got to check into it. You can't really take what's being put forth as gospel truth unless you actually do. I mean, if they can put something on there that shows me some kind of evidence, like stranded when you saw a door close, or when you saw the ball move, I thought that was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. The week before, the first night that they get in there, they see lights go on across from them in their building, but they turned around and went to bed. I would have been like, come on, let's go. Just go find out. So it is entertainment, basically. That's what it is.
All right. Do you want to take another call?
Sure. I think we know who this one is.
Do we have to take this call?
Hello, who is this?
This is Mateo.
Mateo.
Hey, Mateo. How are you?
How are you?
So what's up?
Not much. I just had an interesting question I think I wanted to ask you guys. As far as anything goes, anything that's unexplained or paranormal, what do you guys consider proof? And when do you think the proof that's out there will be considered proof to the rest of the world? Because there's plenty of really good ghost footage or whatnot. There's great Bigfoot footage. There's great UFO footage. But it's like even physical footage, like video and pictures, is just dismissed these days.
Do you want to answer that, Lucy? I think we've already answered this before. But, Lucy, do you want to tackle it, or do you want me to?
Yeah, no. I mean, everybody has their own personal truth. Your truth is your truth. What a lot of the things that are being presented, a lot of the pictures, a lot of the videos and stuff, you're always going to have someone that is going to question it and is going to say, oh, no, that's fake. I think everybody still needs to keep an open mind. I think that's the most important thing. Keep an open mind about what you're seeing. But I honestly believe that nobody can prove something to you until you yourself get that confirmation. So all of the evidence that's being presented, it's hard to say when everybody is going to be on board with it. Unless there's something in particular that happens every single time someone goes to that location, or every time someone walks in and takes a picture in this one spot, it's going to be hard for the masses to accept what is real. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I'm just wondering if it's going to actually take a UFO to land on the White House lawn for people to, take some of those things serious.
Well, but Mateo, I'm going to put forth a little scenario, and picture yourself, sitting in your living room watching television, what show do you like to watch? Any kind of show.
I watch Cops.
Okay. All right. So you're sitting in your living room watching Cops, right? All of a sudden, breaking news bulletin comes right through. And the newscaster and the anchor people are saying that there are UFOs that are coming down all over Moscow and China and in South America and in Canada and over the West Coast and also over the East Coast they're spotting. And they're showing you videos, right? Would the first thing that you would think of to do is to run out of the house and look up in the sky?
Yes.
That's because you have to see it for yourself.
Yeah, I would not believe any type of news footage like that.
Right. So the innate instinct that you have is to actually run outside or look out or stick your head out the window and look up to see if you see anything, because your brain is receiving that information that these newscasters are telling you that there is a UFO in all of these locations and they're coming down. But it's not connecting. You're not making it believable for yourself until you open up that window or open up that door and look up to actually physically see it with your own set of eyes. Then that's when you're going to believe it. And I think that's what's going to happen within the paranormal field. There's no amount of evidence. There are tons, like you were just saying, tons and tons of evidence out there that is, in my opinion, foolproof, positive, that there is life after death, that there is a Bigfoot, and that there is UFOs. But I personally I'm not 100% on Bigfoot, and I'm not 100% on UFOs, simply because I have never seen them. But I truly believe that there is, but in my mind, I don't believe it to be 100% truth that it exists, because it has not happened to me. And I think that's what's going to be with everybody. I think no amount of evidence that you're going to put forward to somebody is going to make them believe, like Lucy was saying. It's your experience that's going to make it happen for you. It's you seeing it, you hearing it, you tasting it, whatever it is, that's what's going to make you be the believer.
What would you think about the scenario of something like that being discovered that we all can't see instantly? Like if they said they had found a Bigfoot, there was news reports of a Bigfoot. It's been confirmed, but no one's going to see it for years.
I won't believe it until I'm able to either it's put in a museum, or I'm able to actually physically see it myself. I won't truly believe it, because I will have a doubt as to say if it is the Bigfoot like you were mentioning. I will have a doubt as to the texture of the hair. I would love to see what the texture of the hair looks like, because from my experience with costumes and everything else over the years, or seeing wigs and whatever, I know what possibly could look like fake hair, and I would look at this body and see whether or not that's fake hair or not. I can't do that on television, or I can't do that with a picture. There's no way for me to get that, and so I'd actually physically have to see it myself. That's how I would comprehend it being real.
Absolutely, I agree.
That goes back to everybody. Your own personal truth is your personal truth.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of more like a mass internal struggle with people who don't want to believe or don't see things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't get offended when people say, "Oh, you're crazy, you're nuts." There's no such thing as that, or there's no such thing as this. I don't get offended because, sort of inside, I'm sort of laughing, and I feel sorry for that person that they haven't been able to, experience it on their own. I love to talk to people who have never gone to a haunted location and do what Lucy and I do, and to understand that, and they sort of look at you like you've got three heads on you. I would love to bring those people in. And again, it goes back to seeing their reaction. How I love to see people. You can actually physically see someone's mind changing when that happens. You can see it within their eyes, and that changeover from a non-believer to a believer is the most amazing thing that physically that you can see in another person. And the idea of that just blows my mind. I love that. It's sort of like. How everybody wishes, and this may be a bad scenario to say, but how everybody wishes they could be a virgin again. It's that first, I know you're laughing. It's that, it's that first. It's a good scenario.
Okay,
you're laughing at me. It's a good scenario. It really makes you understand that you want to. This is for me. Going back to that moment where you're changing over. You're not that anymore, and you're not a non-believer. You're a believer now. That's what I would love to see in people. I'm going to get you.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm done.
No, I understand what you.
Okay.
Does that answer that, Mateo?
Yes,
or did I go over the line?
No, that's cool. I agree. I just want to know what your guys' opinion was. Just today my friend showed me this new UFO footage from Chile. If you Google Chile UFO 2013, it's the first thing that comes up, and I just look at it and go, damn, why isn't that on the news? I don't understand.
But you know what? Like all of this footage that's coming, and one of the footages that really intrigued me was over in Mexico City with the long silver tube-like UFO that was seen going into the volcano. That I thought that was fascinating. But then again, too, you've got people that are debunking it, saying it's this, it's that. But just the footage itself, to me, was just really, for some reason, that one caught my eye. It really was interesting. But I don't know if I would believe it. I think I really would have to see it myself in order to say, okay, yeah, that's real.
I think there's just too much software out there that people can create these images and these videos that it's too easy to do at this moment in time. I think if maybe something like that would have surfaced, maybe 75 years ago, I think it would be a lot more believable, and it would be on the news, I think, at that moment. But I think now in this day and age, it's just too. You can do it on your smartphone, basically, a lot of these things, and it's hard to get it out on the news like that because of what we have readily available for us.
Yeah, I agree.
The ghost apps. I mean, and unfortunately, you're right, Anthony. I look at some of these pictures of ghosts, and the first thing that pops into my mind, okay, is this another one of those ghost apps?
Yeah. That's it. All right, thank you, Mateo. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you, Mateo.
See you guys later. Bye, Lucy. Bye, Anthony.
Bye.
All right, take care, Mateo.
You too.
Oh, I think I cut him off.
Oh, no.
Sorry, Mateo. All right, we'll talk to him next week.
Speaking of next week, do you want to talk about it?
Well, first, do you want to talk about the Paranormal
yes.
Review Fan of the Week?
I'm sorry. I'm just so excited. I want to get going.
I know.
The Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week this week is Frank Aguilar. He's from Miami, Florida, and Frank likes 80s music, salsa dancing, the New York Yankees, boo, ghost adventures, ghost hunters, and, of course, he likes us, Paranormal Review Radio. Thank you, Frank, for being a fan, and congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, Frank. And don't forget, if you want to be a Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week, just like us on Facebook at Paranormal Review Radio. All right, so why don't we get into what we are going to be doing next week?
Okay, what are we doing?
I don't know. What are we doing?
Next week, we are going on a road trip. Next week, we are going to investigate the Poasttown Elementary School in Middleton, Ohio. And if you're familiar with anything that has happened as far as I want to say drama on Facebook, in different media areas, Poasttown has been the subject of quite a bit of discussion, both, good and bad. And we're going there to find out what exactly is there. And I can't wait.
Yeah, Lucy has, because she's had some free time lately, has been frantically calling Ohio. You've been calling, historians and librarians, right?
I have been calling almost everybody in Middletown. I think when I get there, I think everybody's going to know who I am. I have called the Middletown Historical Society. I have called the library. I have called a couple of local historians, trying to get some information on the location, on the area. There have been several tragedies that have happened in the vicinity of Poasttown. There was a train wreck that occurred in 1910, I believe it was. There was a flood that covered the area that was very major in the Miami Valley in 1913. There have been a couple instances within the school itself that we haven't been able to confirm yet, but we have information about, certain things that have happened inside the school. We've even gone into looking into the Indian tribes in the area. There's the Miami, there's the Shawnee tribe. We've even gone as far as looking into the Adena people, because Miami Valley, Ohio, has a lot of Indian mounds. So we've been looking into all of this research before we get there. And I think just having that knowledge will help us have a better investigation. It'll give us a clue as to what we're going to look at. Vegas Valley is saying, what was the location, Ohio, again? It is Poasttown Elementary School. It's in Middletown, Ohio. It's in the Miami Valley, right next to the Miami River, I believe it's called.
There's not much information on Poasttown School. It was built and erected in 1935, and I think it was then dedicated in 1937. And during the operation of the school, it being a school, there really wasn't that many tragedies that happened within the building itself. There's a couple of stories, and we'll get into that next week and talk about it right before we start to do the live investigation. But there really wasn't that many stories that we could find to I guess, explain the reasons as to why people are saying that there is paranormal activity in this location. So what we then did was, instead of looking at the building, we looked at the ground. We looked at the earth itself and within the town area, and tried to figure out if there's anything that was going on prior to when the school was built, what was on that land prior to that, what was going on within the town during that time, before that time, and what were some of the issues that could have created the paranormal activity that would have happened. It's not so much the building itself. A lot of times, yes, there are things, that there are murders and suicides and deaths and whatnot that happen in haunted locations. But if a location does not have that history, what you should then do is look to the earth itself. And that's what we did. That's what Lucy did. Lucy did a lot of the cold calling into Ohio, and I did a lot of the research as best as I could online. And we did find a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, it's a multitude of many things, I think, that may be a conglomerate that sort of come together and make Poasttown Elementary School sort of like a quote-unquote safe haven for entities. Like Lucy was saying, that there was the 1910, this train wreck was horrible, and it happened a little bit under a mile away. There's a train railroad that runs right behind there. And back in 1910, there was a horrible train wreck, and it killed, I believe it was about 36 people from that train wreck, and 50 were injured. Now, the school was not built at that time, obviously, and there was no hospital in the town. So they had to service many of the injured and the fatalities there. And one of the stories that I read, and I don't think I mentioned this to you, Lucy, yet, but I did find that there was a story that the next day, this happened on July 4th, 1910, the next day on July 5th, they actually found an infant baby about several hundred feet away from the train wreck in a cornfield, and the baby was alive. So that just gives you a visual of how big this impact was, and I guess how the victims were thrown from this train, and the entire town was involved in this rescue mission to get everybody. And the idea that possibly they used the land in and around where the school is for this triage setup could be the possibility of this creation of this energy within that area. And some are saying that possibly some of the victims, the fatal victims, have sort of resided now and taken up residence there. You did talk about the flood, which happened in 1913, which ironically happened in March of 1913. So we are going to be there around the 100th anniversary of this huge flood that happened in Middletown, Ohio. There were a lot of bridges that were destroyed, and The town itself was completely flooded, and this came as to a shock. The rivers rose high very quickly, and so there was people trapped in buildings in Hamilton, Ohio, and in Dayton, Ohio. The people were still working and were trapped in their offices, and so that's how quickly this came about. No one could predict this. We also found two other interesting things. In 1918, obviously, there was this, and this is known throughout the entire country, the big flu pandemic, this epidemic of the flu that cost a lot of people's lives. And so we took into account this story, and there is a story in Middletown, Ohio, where this affected them, simply because, again, they did not have a hospital within that town, and so they had to go to a town over to be treated. And the town over was already bombarded and understaffed. So there's no stories that we can find of whether or not that there were deaths either within Middletown or at that hospital in regards to this flu epidemic. I'm sure there was, but again, we don't have concrete evidence. But again, it gives you the feeling and that energy of what was going on within this town. Also, in 1918, and this is what Lucy and I are still, 1924, this is what Lucy and I are still working on, that we found out, was that Middletown actually had a baby farm. Mm-hmm. And Lucy, do you want to talk about that?
Baby farms, if you're not familiar, were places where infants, children that parents could not take care of, whether it's from lack of money or illness or death in a family. When a family felt that they could not take care of a child, they would take them to what was called a baby farm. And baby farm actually is kind of like a derogatory term, because what happened in these places was really, really horrifying. Some of the research that I've done on baby farms were shocking, where children actually would be turned over to the baby farm, and the family would receive payment for the baby. Mm-hmm. In essence, they were literally selling these children. And to the baby farm, the children were more valuable sometimes if they were dead. So some of these places, and you can go online and you can find histories of this. There have been trials, there have been criminal charges brought against people that ran them. Some places have actually killed the children. So the negativity that comes from that sort of place is got to be unbelievable. According to the research that we found, it was located very possibly almost where the school is. There's an intersection where Germantown Road and I believe it's called Trenton something Road.
Trenton Franklin Road.
Okay, Trenton Franklin Road. The baby farm is supposedly was located somewhere in that area. So that's one aspect that we kind of want to look into to see that possibly the energies from that still remain there. It's just horrifying to think what happened. And this is just something that I think it's just a negative part of our history. And it's not just here in the United States. I mean, there were baby farms in the UK, in Europe, in South America. And unfortunately, well, thank God, I didn't know anything about it until I started doing the research on it. But it does leave a very, very bad taste in your mouth when you start reading what happens. So again, if there's anything in the area, if there's anything in the land, I'm sure that the energies that are a result of these poor angels losing their lives, whether or not, and we don't know for sure if the baby farm that was located in this area was involved in anything like this, but when you read the history of it, chances are it did happen. It really did.
So that's pretty much what we had uncovered so far. I think, Lucy, you did a great job at calling Ohio and the historians, excuse me, which they've been really very helpful with. They've been, from what you've been telling me, Lucy, they've been pretty open to giving you that information. So I think it's been really great. And again, we don't like to go off of what other people are saying about a location or what they put forward as fact. Because we want to make sure that we're going there with the right intentions, and we're making sure that when we do go there that we're communicating to the right people. And so if we have that knowledge of that location or, excuse me, or of within that town what had happened, what we think is going on at the school is possibly because it had been abandoned and because it had children for so many years, from 1935 to I think it was in 1999 or 2000 when the school was closed down. That is a long period of time where there was children in there. And I think, again, we just talked about this with Katina, I think, again, with children, spirits are attracted to that energy. It's that young, innocent energy that they're attracted to. And this may have been sort of that creation of that safe haven for these spirits that are within this town that they can go to. And I think after the school had closed down, it sort of became their residence then. It became their home. And I think that's what possibly could be. This may be a far stretch, but this could possibly be the reason why that there have been experiences at this place. And so we're going to find out. We're going to go there, and we're going to connect with them in many different ways. We've got some ideas that we have. Lucy and I have been talking about doing different things during our live investigation. Now, this is going to be a live investigation for you guys, so you guys are going to be able to listen in and also, if you'd like to, participate in this investigation because we're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to be able to have your voice be put out into the school and allow you guys, the listeners, to be able to ask a question or to help facilitate the communication that we may be having. So this is going to give you guys the opportunity to be sort of, what do we call them, paranormal couch investigators? Just so that we give you guys the opportunity for the folks who may not be able to do this, or who may not, or who think that they may not ever be able to do something like this. We want to give you guys the opportunity to get involved in that, and we love giving back. And so this is the opportunity that we'd love to give everybody. We've done this at other locations, and it worked out so well. People have loved it, and so we've continued to do it. We've done it at other locations, and we will continue to do this for however long we can. So this is going to be a great live investigation. And again, it's the education that we're giving you so that you guys are going to be able to have the knowledge and understand what could possibly be going on in there. So when you call in, you may have an appropriate question that may trigger that communication and help us. So.
Yeah, and then again, too, I'm really excited because we're going to try a couple things that we haven't tried yet. I mean, it's something new for us, so this is going to be a new experience. And then again, too, when you're calling, it's your ears that we're depending on. I mean, if you hear something, if you, where we've done just normal phone calls with people where we've gotten things coming across the line and the wires. So you're going to be a conduit just as much as we are. Your energy across the phone lines, who knows what we can get? Who knows what can happen? I mean, I think it's going to be great.
The funny thing is, though, Blog Talk Radio is sort of like a audio recorder. I mean, it is an audio recorder. So when listeners are listening to us on the radio, they may be hearing, or you guys may be hearing, things that we will not be able to hear with our own ears because it is coming over a recorded airwave. So Blog Talk itself, it's almost like having a live, EVP session. You guys are going to be able to hear things that we may not be able to, and so we're going to encourage you guys, if you do hear things, we'll have the chat open, and we're going to encourage you guys that if you hear anything, to let us know. And we'll go over this all next week when we are at the location. We're going to do a tour of the school, and we're going to talk to Daryl Wissman, who is the caretaker of the school. And this will be prior to the show start so that we can get maybe some more information. Once the show starts, we'll probably talk for about maybe 20 minutes to give you guys and sort of download the information for you so that you understand what some of the rooms are, what some of the experiences have been, what to look out for. Again, we're going to go over the history, and we're just going to go off from there, and we're going to go into some of the better areas and the better rooms, because, again, we only have a 2-hour window for the radio show. So we're going to go into the better rooms, the ones that are most commonly haunted, and hopefully that we'll be able to get something. And we're going to, like Lucy said, we're going to do some different things. We're actually going to be taking a lot of methods and techniques that you may have been seeing on, funny enough, on some of the television shows that you've been seeing, and we're going to introduce them. There's some things that we have not done, and also some things that we've talked about and had guests on our show talk about. That
are you looking at the chat room?
No.
Vegas Valley and Reverend Gordy both mentioned something.
Ouija board. I actually just went out today and bought a Ouija board. So we will be doing that at the location. And if you listened to our show last week, you'll know why. I think there is what's the word? A misrepresentation of the Ouija board that people think of. And what we've learned from our guest last week, we're going to try it out, and we're going to do it. Plus, we've got other things up our sleeves in regards to what you may have seen on television. So we're going to take some things, and we're going to do something really different, make it really fun, and I can't wait, Lucy. I am itching to go.
I know. It's been too long. It's been since last August since we investigated.
I know. So, I mean, hopefully we're going to be sending out the invite on Facebook. So, again, if you guys are not our Facebook friends, go to Facebook, type in Paranormal Review Radio, and like us on there, and you'll be able to see the invite. You'll be able to get attached to it, so it'll remind you for next Friday, and we're going to be live. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have so much fun, and what we're going to need is we're going to need your help. And so this is not just, you're not just going to be hearing us. We want you guys to participate in it as well, because the more energy that we receive, like Lucy was saying, I think the better it is, and I think the better that they will feel, and hopefully we'll get that communication back. We've had some exciting stuff happen before, and I think if my memory serves me correctly, we were in Prospect Place, Lucy, right?
Yes.
We had I don't even know what you want to call her. Is she medium? We had a woman who called in who was a medium. I think it was a medium or an astral projector.
She was astral projecting.
That's it. Sorry. She was astral projecting. And she actually, she claimed that she astrally projected to the place that we were at Prospect Place Mansion, and described the room to us. And she described the room to a T. It was amazing. She described what was around us. We had a doll in the room, and she described the color of the doll's dress. So it was a pretty exciting, and it was a very different type of an investigation. You know, we've gone to locations, Lucy and I, and it's just been us at some of them. But we love to get other people's feedback and questions. And some of the questions that people had asked on our previous shows, we never thought of to ask. So it's going to be really fun.
I can't wait. You know, one thing I do want to mention, because we talked about the research that we're doing. There's two people in Ohio that I really do want to thank. Jeff Diver of the Middletown Historical Association has been very, very helpful. And I really want to thank Deidre Root. She is a reference librarian at it's called the Midpoint Library, but it is in Middletown. She has been awesome and has been sending us information from their archives and things that she actually mailed another library for us and got some information. So I want to thank those two people. They have really, really helped us out this time, and we can't wait to get there. Can't wait.
I can't wait. So Reverend Gordy's asking what's the Facebook theme. It is Paranormal Review Radio. And Debbie is saying, I'm looking forward to it. I've never been on an investigation. Well, this is why we're doing it, Debbie. So we hope next week you call in. You know, if you want to private message us on our Facebook page and let us know what your either just your area code or your phone number is. Let us know what that is, and we'll make sure that we pick up your line so that we give you that opportunity. Again, this is so funny, Lucy. It goes back to the feeling that I get of when I introduce people who have never done anything like this and experience and have them experience it for themselves, and then talk to them afterwards and get an idea of what that was like. It sort of like takes me back to when I first started to do it, and I love doing that for people with people. So
that's wonderful. Me, I'm more selfish. I love doing it because each time is something new. Each time to me is like the first time. I don't know what we're going to find when we walk in. And that's even been in places that we've been to a couple times. When we went to Mackey's twice. The second time, I had no clue what was going to happen. I knew what happened last time, and I kind of had an idea. But each time is something different. Like I said, the spirits aren't on a time frame. They're not going to automatically react every time you walk into something. So
right.
There could be changes in the location. There could be changes in the land. There could be changes in that particular location. Each time is going to be different. But yes, no, I do enjoy having our fans listen to us and be there with us because you're there with us. You know, it makes it a group investigation. Even though it's just me and Anthony in the location, we're not really alone. We have all of you with us.
So mark your calendars next Friday, March 29th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central Time, and 7 p.m. Pacific Time. We will be live on the air at Poatstown Elementary School, and that's it. Do you want to give your famous send-off line, Lucy?
Sure. First off, I want to thank everybody that called in tonight. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I've always said it. We'll always say it over again. You guys are the best fans on the planet. Anthony, thank you so much. I can't wait. I'm just counting the hours and the days. I want to go so bad. And I want to see you, and I miss you. And I can't wait to get this investigation going. So, everybody, until next week, have a wonderfully paranormal-filled week. Thank you, and good night.
Good night, everybody.
Paranormal Review Radio.